Hello everybody, and welcome to the second episode of the FMS podcast. Today we have Jaume, the CEO of Tendam, and we'll be asking 10 questions. So let's start. Jaume, when you were younger, did you ever imagine yourself leading a company as big as Tendam? How did you manage your money different back then?
Okay, that's a good one. I mean, first, I don't know if I visualize or not to become chairman and CEO of Tendam, but the truth is that part of my dream was to handle companies and to make transformation within companies. So I would say that somehow I was on the direction, I would say, and right now I'm happy in the way that dreams came to reality. Um, Financial wise, it's clearly there is a different behavior in reference to financials when it relates to age. I mean, when you are young, most of the money that gets into your pocket, I mean, gets spent as easy as it is.
Yeah.
But then if you are getting married, you are starting to think about a rental. Then there is certain norms or traditional norms about rental saying at the end of the day, it should not be the money that you're putting into rental more than 25% of your income, because if not, you will be struggling with the rest of the expenses. But clearly, at that time, you are, let's say, when you are thinking about your overall health, you have more debt than cash, for example. And your net wealth, it's like like quite balanced, not necessarily positive. And when you are getting, let's say, older or more mature, or you are advancing on age, normal thing is to rebalance that and to have less debt and more cash and let's say a wealth balance that it's far more positive. But that's normal because when you are younger, I mean, you need to invest more and you have less cash. And when you are older or getting older, I mean, you need to have less debts and more cash. If not, there is an issue.
Okay, so now moving on to the topic of managing our finances. So for those of us of our age who are just starting to handle our own money, what's the first thing we should learn about our finances to stay in control and be able to manage them correctly?
Okay. I think there is basic concepts. I mean, one concept is what is an investment and what is a spend. Even on the same item. I mean, if you are talking about clothing, for example, I mean, one thing is to buy the hottest item in the season. This is clearly an expenditure,
Mm-hmm.
okay, because it will not last 3 seasons. Another thing is that you are buying, I don't know, a good cashmere jacket in blue, okay, and this will last for 4, 5, 6 years, except if you are winning weight, okay. If this is the case, this is an investment. This is not an expense. So the difference about this is an investment, so it will last more than 1 to 3 years, or this is something that, I mean, it will be fungible and it will be lost in 1 year. That's important. Okay. Another element is about the importance of liquidity. Okay. I mean, you can have houses, cars, whatever you want that increases in theory your wealth. Okay. But if you don't have cash, at certain point of time, you might have issues because then you will be forced to get cash or to get some liquidity to sell things losing money. Okay. So yes, it's important to have things, to have, let's say, part of your wealth invested. That's good, but to have cash and liquidity, it's important. So it's again, it's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
Same as saying, well, it's bad to have debts. No, it is not bad to have debts. The important thing is which is the balance of these debts on the total part of your, let's say, overall wealth, and depending on your capacity of repayment, and also depending if this debt, once it will be paid, it will be investment or it's
Mhm.
just an expenditure but it's lost.
Perfect.
So balance, it's all about.
So you're in essence you're telling us that we should make our spending choices wisely, and even if it takes us into debts, if
Yeah.
they can be repaid, then
Yeah.
it's all fine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Moving on. Everybody makes financial mistakes at first and after many years of learning. Do you remember any of your own mistakes that ended up teaching you a valuable experience?
Let's say mistakes, big mistakes. I think I've been not able to make it. Okay? Another thing would be learnings. Okay, and learnings. I think to me there is a clear learning that you should not plan financials based on an Excel spreadsheet. Okay? Because the Excel it's easy mathematic and code, but reality in life is not as mathematic, and it could be events that they are clearly non-planned, like COVID, for example.
Hmm.
So it's good to plan finances the same way that, for example, you are planning, let's say, an excursion to a mountain. Okay? That yes, you could see the weather forecast saying it will be sunny, but and the whole day, but suddenly the clouds are coming and rain starts to come. So if you want to go to an excursion or to the mountain, you should not plan only with the weather forecast. Okay? You should have anyway a raincoat. You need to have a polar freeze just in case. You need to have water, not just waiting to have a fountain just in the middle. So it's planning based not only in best case scenario, planning also on the eventuality of having something that it's not coming across as planned. And I think that's important. Not thinking that everything will happen according to plan. It's good to have plan B, plan C always, but especially on the financial side, because if not, you could be ending up having troubles.
Now, when we're talking about fashion and in relation to our finances, fashion obviously is sometimes seen as expensive and luxurious. Okay, so what role do you think having a good financial management will then help in buying what you like or in doing what you like without ending up overspending?
Yeah. Well, I think it's again the rule about this is a spend or this is an investment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good to have your wardrobe, especially at the beginning, based on good basics. Good basics does not mean to be boring. Means to have a good polo shirt that will last. At least you need to have, let's say, a blue pair of jeans, a white pants, a chinos, and a blue Oxford shirt, a blue t-shirt, a white t-shirt, and a pullover. Uh, Once you have the basics covered, and ideally in, let's say, pretty decent quality, I mean, you can build up with more fashionable items. But I mean, the way around, which is only cherry picking, let's say, the coolest thing in the season and not having covered the basics, that's the trouble. And that's basically a wrong balance in between investment and spend. And, and I think you can build a good wardrobe without the need of spending a lot, just by combining good basics with, I mean, fashion items that they are, let's say, cooler on
Mm-hmm.
that specific time of the season.
Yama, if you had to give one quick and simple piece of advice to someone thinking about saving or investing for the first time, what would that advice be?
Okay. Diversify, that's one thing. So not to put all the money in one basket, except when you are, I mean, young or when you are 25 or 30, that you are investing first time for a house. That's a different thing. But let's say getting more into normality, diversification, it's key. Not to put all the eggs in one basket. Getting informed about, I mean, the asset that you are buying, which are the liabilities, which are the risks associated, and getting informed through different sources. So that's important. And then to have a balanced approach in between risk and profitability. I mean, sometimes very attractive assets that they are offering a very high profitability and that probably might have a good track record on delivery, but they have an associated risk. So probably I'm not saying that it's bad to take those assets. I'm saying that probably it's taking those assets alongside to others that they are probably less profitable, but more, let's say, reliable long term. So I think diversification, getting informed, and balancing risk with profitability, that's, I would say, basic advice for any investor that wants to start.
Now, speaking about the future of brands like your one, in this growing interconnected world, how does a company like Tendam manage to stay connected with the youth like us?
Okay, I think this needs to be contextualized.
Yeah.
Okay? Because every brand has an associated target, which could be younger or could be older. I mean, in our case, we are handling 11 own management. Okay, it's Cortefiel, Pedro del Hierro, Springfield, Secret, Intropia, Slowlove, Auto, High and Buy, Secret, and Diane Star, and High Experience. Yeah, those are the brands. I remember them pretty well. I would say within those brands, the only one that targets, let's say, young people, meaning 15 to 25, it's High and Buy. And High and Buy, it's an spin-off of Women's Secret, the Women's Intimate brand. Why we decided in that case to do an spin-off of the, let's say, the modern brand of Women's Secret? Basically because we realized that that the product needs of a girl of 18 years old was totally different from the needs of a woman of 45 years old. Morphology, everything, it's different. And so we decided to create a specific brand with a specific product. And then the second thing was tone of voice and the way to relate to the customer, which is totally different. So to address this target, we were forced either to defocus from the target group Women's Secret, which we did not want because target was 40 years old, or clearly to create a separate brand. The decision was that one. And High and Buy has totally different color palette, totally different product mix, totally different store portfolio, totally different user merchandising, and most importantly, totally different marketing and way to relate, which very specific. Rest of brands like Cortefiel, Cortefiel is targeting plus 55. I'm not saying that we don't care about young people. We care about young people when they will become 50. Okay, but in terms of brands that they are targeting specifically young people, we have one brand, which is a High and Buy. Springfield, it's young, but probably I would qualify the brand more as a young adult brand rather than a teen brand. And probably it's targeting more 35-year-old rather than 15-year-old. So our portfolio probably it's more adult targeted, and the only it's High and Buy, which is then totally different advertising mix, different type of conversations. I would say our expertise is probably not young brands, and we are experiencing a totally different world with High and Buy.
Okay, so would you say that is an example of the diversification you mentioned previously?
Yeah.
In order to access a broader audience?
Yeah, we have 11 brands because we want to cover different niches. And we try to have clear boundaries in between brands to minimize cannibalization. So I think this is easier rather than having one brand trying to cover all segments and all ages.
Do you think that young people have a special advantage when it comes to starting a business or leading? Or do you think that it's something that you learn over time to do better?
I think young people, or let's say, or less experienced, they are bringing very positives to the business. Less afraid to do mistakes, more freshness. I think that's important, and having less rules or established or pre-established assumptions that sometimes could act as a as a as a limitator. Okay? So uh, they are bringing, let's say, more freedom on the mindset, and freshness. The question is how to combine with experience and how to combine with people that probably it's older, more mature, yes, more experienced, and combine teams with the two type of characters where both are respecting each other on the assets that they are bringing and assuming the limitation of each one. I think that's the right combination. And yeah, I think there is a lot of value on having diversity in age, as it has a lot of value having diversity in culture or having diversity in gender. And putting all in fraction, I mean, you are getting more than 2 + 2 = 4. You are getting more, and that's important in organizations.
So in a company like yours, like Tendam, what carries more weight and more importance, or if they're balanced, then that having creative ideas or having the ability to have good, sustainable financial management, what would be more important?
You need both. I mean, to have creative ideas without a sustainable business model is like I have a dream, but nothing else. If you only have, let's say, a financial machinery without creativity, I mean, this could last 1, 2, or 3 years, but the model will get exhausted. So you need both. I mean, you need creativity, but you need to have a financial model that makes this creativity getting real into a bottom line and into a balance sheet.
Nowadays, there is a lot of talk about sustainability and sustainable products, especially among young people. How do you think what do you think Tandem is doing to be more sustainable? And how do you think this influences financial decisions or financial spreadsheets?
Okay. I think sustainability is not like a subject to debate. So it's mandatory. It's mandatory not only from European regulations or consumers, also internally in the way that I would say our sales force, or let's say our team in general, average age is around 30 years old, and 30 years old, it's highly sensitive on sustainability. So this is forcing us probably to be, I don't know if to say advanced or let's say or highly sensitive into sustainability. Examples: 69% of the managers are women. 57% of the products either have components, either have processes that minimize the utilization of water or chemicals. 100% of the energy in Spain it's green, it's renewable. 90% of the global energy that we're consuming is renewable. All our supply chain it's basically it's subject to open scrutiny from international unions, and they are visiting fabrics and factories in a continuous basis year round. CDP, we are A- on EcoVadis, we are platinum. I would say that's one part that you cannot dissect to the company, not only because regulation, but especially I would say by the force or the engine that driven by the type of internal community that we are having.
finally, to finish, one of the most important questions that we could ask you is when someone is just starting to manage their finance and in the financial world. So for someone who is starting their first projects in this endeavor, what's the best financial habits to develop from the beginning that's essential to start?
I think planning it's one thing. The second one it's thinking not only on the best case that it's in the spreadsheet, also to think on what if things are not going as planned.
Mhm.
And third one it's pay super extra attention to liquidity. I think most of the startups they are failing basically by liquidity issues. And I would say that's number one element that needs to be having an extra focus, liquidity. And liquidity not only if the plan is 100% accomplished, it's liquidity if the sales plan, for example, it's only at 75%, or if there is any deviation in expenses that will have affect liquidity. That's number one reason for new companies to fail.
Okay, so in summary, those reasons would be the most important ones. Obviously, liquidity, the most important one.
Yeah.
Then considering that what if factor
Yeah.
when starting, and also having proper planning, right?
Well, that's clear. I mean, one thing which is basic, it's why I will be continually growing.
Yeah.
Okay, and what makes us different. Okay, and this is one driver. Second one is planning, not only in worst case, not only in best case, also on worst case, and third consequent, it's liquidity.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for
It's
today.
been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
See you next episode.
Muy bien.